our show.
Y'all better get up in here, have a seat on this sofa. We are back. It's the new year. We 2 weeks into the new year already. I'm like, man, is it gonna fly by. Hey, my name is Kathi Thomas. I am the Chief Housing Officer with the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. Happy New Year, everybody. I get the pleasure of being here with our Executive Director, the big boss, Mr. Lewis Jordan. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. And I'm clicking my heels 3 times. There's no place like home.
I know that's right.
Yeah.
You did a little bit of traveling.
I did a little bit of traveling over holidays, and there's no place. And I said it once, I'll say it again. Vegas is my home now.
That's right. That's right. A lot of us are transplants, but there's no place we'd rather be than right here. Right. Yeah.
I got up this morning, that 35, 40 degrees. I'm like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
I did the tundra of Chicago.
Yeah.
-7 and -8.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. -7, like that. Yeah, that's not working for me. There is no place like Vegas.
And no place like 88.1.
There you go. We're so glad to be here on the People Station, talking to our peoples. We want y'all to come in, sit down on the sofa, get comfortable. This is Living Room Sessions. And we just have a conversation about what we're doing. You know, a lot of folks struggling with this question around housing and what we're doing. And so we come once a month, second Monday, to have this conversation. I'm so glad today we got some heavy hitters on our show, because I think most folks know we have a huge project going on the historic West Side at the Marble Manor development. And we are the recipient with the City of Las Vegas of a Choice Neighborhood Initiative grant. And it's $50 million to redevelop that site. Now, keep in mind, this is a $400 million project, so the $50 million is seed money to get us started, but our commitment to the community has been we will come back with updates. And so here's our update today. We got some folks in the house sitting on the sofa that's going to give us some updates about what's happening. I'm so glad to have Frank Stafford, who's our Director of Modernization and Development. Frank's on the phone because he was traveling too, Mr. Jordan. I'm like, I had to stay home. All y'all wheels up, folks. But he's on the phone with us, and we also have Johanna Belyeu. Johanna, am I saying your last name?
Yeah.
The right way? Okay, I want to get it right. Get it right for the peoples. So today we're just going to have a conversation about Marble Manor and the Choice Neighborhood Initiative and what's going on. Hey, Frank, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Oh, perfect. So, Frank, we're going to start with you today because folks have driven past Marble Manor and they see that on a corner of Washington. About a third of that development is no longer there physically. So give us a quick update on what's happening with, and I call it deconstruction, right? Like, because it's a combination of demolition and construction. There's deconstruction going on. Talk to us a little bit about where the Housing Authority is with that process and who some of those partners are that you're working with.
Yes, and you are correct. Deconstruction is the perfect word to use for that. We have basically completed demo on 56 of the units and what we refer to as phase 1, which is up near 8th Street and McWilliams, as well as Washington. And that also included 3 commercial buildings, a community center, office, and an old childcare center that used to be on that property. So that's all been demolished. We were fortunate to close before the holiday on the financing to prepare to start the new development, which will be on that same footprint. But instead of coming back with 56 units, we'll be coming back with roughly 138 units on that site. And it'll be a mixture of buildings from 2, 3 to 4 story buildings with some commercial space for community residents that may have resident-owned buildings. They can relocate in some of that retail space. that we're going to have. So we're very excited. We're getting ready to start, as we say, we did the demolition. Now it's time to start, turning some dirt, bringing all the underground infrastructure and getting ready to go vertical. So you can see the transformation of the neighborhood taking place right before you.
That's great. So you said this is phase 1. How many phases will there be?
We currently have 5 phases for the development. And, we came in, running at top speed. So we're hoping that those 5 phases will be reduced down to 4 phases, because we're looking to combine what we refer to as phase 2A, 2B, and phase 3 into one single phase. So if we're fortunate enough to do that, then it will go from 5 phases to 4 phases, but still with the overall completion date of around 2032 for the entire property.
Wow.
Hey, Frank, it's Lewis. How are you? What
doing good.
Good to hear. What do the people who live in that community, as well as people who aspire to live in that community, what do they have ahead of them? Talk a little bit about the existing or old housing versus what you and the team have done to create new housing.
Well, as you know, Marble Manor is a development that was built starting back in the 40s, from roughly 1948 to 1958. Military style, brick, brick. And when I say brick, the walls were solid brick. And we're going to be coming back with a modern facility, different types of buildings. All the buildings won't look the same. They're going to have all your modern features inside. There'll be lots of open space. The site is going to have what we call green space with a spine that runs from 8th Street all the way back to N Street, connecting the entire property. And like I said, it's going to be modernized housing that you'll see at any neighborhood throughout the valley.
Very good. Very good.
Now, it's so important to share this piece of it because the residents have been involved from the very beginning in the conversation of what the new Marble Manor can look like and will look like. And so there were 2 years leading up to this. There was a planning grant, right, Mr. Jordan? And in that process, the residents, about 12 of them were actually hired as ambassadors to work with other residents to collect feedback, to get their input. And so when you see renderings of the future Marble Manor, it's because the current residents designed it. Like, they met and talked about what they wanted to see and what type of community they wanted restored once this building process was completed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of people, we have Johanna here with us. So, just a little bit of background about Choice Neighborhood. The grant focuses on the housing piece that Frank's talking about, the neighborhood piece that we're partnering with the city of Las Vegas to address. And we've talked a lot about the 100 plan and some of the stuff that's happening there. Well, that's all a part of the neighborhood strategy for redevelopment. And the most important piece is the people piece. So Johanna and her team get to be what the feds call the people implementation entity. That's just a fancy way of saying you're going to take care of our folks, right, Johanna? Yes. Okay. So talk about the role that you have to play, you personally, but also what your team does to support the residents of Marble Manor through this transformation process.
Yes. So the role that the people team plays is we have case managers that are going to be working with all the Marble Manor residents throughout the entire process. So we're 1 year down, 7 years to go. So what the case managers will be doing is working with not only the head of household, but the entire families. So we're going to be there throughout the entire process of when it comes to them relocating, when it comes to settling into their new home after they've moved out of Marble Manor, making sure, if they want to go back to school, making sure that the children are enrolled in school, receiving any services that they require for with the school district. We're also going to be making sure we have 3 pillars within the CNI grant, which is health, employment, and education. So we're really going to be focusing on that throughout the entire process.
Okay, so Frank just said about 50 plus units were torn down. Where are those families now?
Yes. So the families that were in phase 1 have all been relocated. So they were given a choice whether they wanted to remain in public housing or they wanted to take the housing choice voucher. So many of the families, depending on their choice, have been relocated outside throughout Las Vegas or are currently living in public housing.
So that's so important, right? Because I know, especially during the planning phase of this a couple of years back, it was like, they running us out. They taking our, where's that? Nobody knew or really understood what was going to be happening. So all the families that are in Marble Manor get an option how to relocate during the reconstruction, right? Yes. And so some will go to other public housing sites and some have taken a voucher, right? Yes. So what happens when this phase or all the phases are finished? They come back? What happens next?
So the families have a choice, of course. Should they be in good standing, they are able to have the choice of coming back, having the first choice of coming back to Marble Manor, or if they tend to love where they're at, they're able to stay.
Okay, so that's important, and it's kind of the thing. I know Mr. Jordan always tells us we got to move at the speed of trust.
That's right.
And that folks have to trust that this is a joint effort. Like, we are not tearing it down for the sake of tearing it down, and we're not moving families to get them out of the historic West Side. It's still their home, and while this construction is happening, they get an option about what they want to do next. It's really based on their family's needs, right?
Sure.
And so that, I can't say that enough, actually, that the Choice Neighborhood is about giving people choices for them and their families. It's not about just tearing something down and not putting something back.
And this is where we want you to go. One of the unique things we found out about Choice and Hope 6, other, iterations of federal grant, is that people will move into a new community and, say, hey, I got what I want.
Yeah.
10 minutes from my job, excellent school system, on and on and on. But we want them to make those decisions, not us.
Absolutely.
And what I've said this before, in addition to moving at the speed of trust, we want the new development to be, welcoming for those who live there and want to come back, and also inviting for those who want to be there.
Right.
And that takes work like Johanna's work, or like her team is doing, to consistently look and ask people, what is it that you want? Because most of us are used to being led.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an opportunity where you can say, I want this. I'd like to have you consider that. And that's what we're striving along with our partners to make happen.
So, Frank, in what you're building back at this site, if we heard you correctly, you said 50-something came down and 100 and something comes back. What does that look like? What types of housing? It won't be, single-story cinder block anymore, but what will it be?
So, like I said, it'll be your modernly constructed properties. You'll have some buildings that are 2 stories. There'll be some buildings 3 stories. There'll be some buildings that are 4 stories. The buildings themselves will have, areas in them, like for open space. There'll be like computer lab facilities, things of that, where it's actually, a community. We'll have parks that's located throughout the property. Like I mentioned, the green space, sidewalks, walking trails. But it will be basically a planned master development community.
Yeah,
that
master
you'll
plan
see
community.
in other. Yes.
I love that.
As it should be.
As it should be, right? We're accustomed to hearing about master plan communities in Summerlin or Aliante or wherever else, and nobody ever talks about that opportunity for the historic West Side to have something that's a master plan community. And what's unique about this process is that the residents who currently live in Marble Manor actually get a say in what that master plan community will contain, what it will offer to folks. Now, we're building back more than we're taking down. Does that mean that everybody who there's like 235 units there now, does that mean all 235 get to come back?
So part of the CNI is we have to do a one-for-one replacement for families that lived at Marble Manor. So as we indicated, it's a choice. So those who want to come back can come back to the development. However, if individuals, move away from the property and they decide they want to stay where they're at, then we will still have units at that property that will meet those same income levels. So we'll maintain the and I'll throw these terms out, but average medium income, your 30% will maintain 235 units at that income level. But in addition to that, it'll be also a mixed income community where we'll have a portion of the units that are considered low income housing tax credit units, which the average median income of those families can be higher. So they'll be able to move into the property, as well as we'll have what we refer to as unrestricted units, where individuals that have an income that's too high for public housing or for tax credits, but they still may just want to come back to that community for what, because that's a community they grew up and they're fond of, or they just want to be part of it. It's going to be close to the downtown area. It's going to be exciting. The neighborhood is changing. So we'll have units that can also support individuals and those higher incomes that would like to come back.
Excellent. The challenge often is because the street committee is busy talking about stuff, but they don't always have the facts right. Every household that is there now can return if they choose to, and if they're in good standing. And a little bit later, Johanna will talk about what it means to be in good standing. But nobody's being displaced, even if those families who have relocated with a voucher during redevelopment decide to stay where they are. There will still be the same number of low-income affordable units in addition to the new things being built.
Absolutely. And when you think about it from a holistic standpoint, and this is a personal example, at a point where I have grandchildren and I have to travel quite a ways and get colds and flus to see my grandchildren. The thought of being in a community, particularly one that I grew up in, that I can come back to, and I can live in a development that my daughter and her husband lives in, and I can go to the church that my grandfather helped build. Those are things that I think oftentimes we miss. When we were doing the survey around what do people want, we did obviously the resident survey, but we also did the neighborhood survey. I think, Kathi, you were at the city then.
Yeah.
Some people don't see it, but we got a wonderful historic West Side.
Yes.
I mean, we were in a meeting earlier today and almost bumped a car looking at the new library.
Right.
Just driving by there, and they were playing something on the big, Megatron.
Right.
I'm like, boy, you better pay attention to what you're doing. But just the notion of not having to go far, the notion of not having to drive up to Henderson or drive out to Summerlin to get some of these things, and we can have them. And not only are we talking about from a nostalgic standpoint, the jobs that will be created,
right?
The opportunity that can be created. So, those 235 will come back, and then there's a couple other levels, as Frank mentioned, of people who otherwise couldn't be there.
Right.
And now we're saying let's create an opportunity for you to be here as well.
Yeah, there's so many folks who talk to me about how they loved growing up on the historic West Side. And there aren't a lot of housing options for them now that they are adults. Mm-hmm. And they may not necessarily qualify for public housing, but they want to live on the historic West Side. What the new Marble Manor offers is everyone that's there now gets to be there. And folks who want to come back home, and maybe they pay a little bit more.
There you go. But
they can live there too. And everybody has the same kind of amenities. Everybody has the same quality of housing. We're not saying, oh, that's the affordable housing and that's the market rate housing. Right. It's all just housing. And like every strong community, there's a diversity of folks who get to live there.
And you mark my words, as we move forward with this process, and we start seeing things really, really gel. Some of those vacant lots we have on the west side are going to start disappearing.
Absolutely.
Some of those, what used to be storefronts, they're going to come back, because, as I said earlier, there's no place like home. And, I'm learning the longer I live here, the greater sense of understanding and pride that I see as to why people want to live here.
Absolutely. Yeah. People love the West Side in ways that if you don't spend any time here, you don't get to understand that, right? And so when this Marble Manor development comes back, you will see that pride and that love, that appreciation expressed in physical form, right? And I think that's one of the coolest things about being able to be involved with the project is that it's not one dimension. It's not just about tear that down and put something else. We ain't putting any old thing up. It's got to be high quality, but it's also got to respond to and be respectful of the history and the people who are part of the community, and that's really the important thing. Hey, Frank, before we hit our break, I want to ask a question because Mr. Jordan mentioned it's not just about the housing, but there's an opportunity for jobs to be created. Can you talk about some of the steps you all have taken around what we know as Section 3 and hiring from the community? What are some of the things that have been done so far and that will continue over the next 7 years?
Well, the Housing Authority, in conjunction with our partners, Reassurance Development and Metcalf Construction, have conducted, workshops, meetings in the community, talking about Section 3, and not only just for the residents or Section 3 qualified residents of Clark County. We've also met with subcontractors and other, businesses, promoting the program and trying to provide information where they can, sign up and get involved with that. I know Metcalf Construction is committed to the Section 3. I mentioned that with the residents, but also as well as trying to attract subcontractors to this development. So we're doing outreach to the community with the SNRHA as well as with Reassurance Development for that.
So for folks who don't know what Section 3 is or what that means, what is Section 3?
So Section 3 is a program that's for low-income families. You have different categories. You have the families who live within the public housing or are voucher recipients, but also any low-income family that lives within the Clark County Southern Florida region would also qualify for Section 3. The Housing Authority has a job bank that we maintain. There's an application process that they can submit. We ask for them to provide, a resume or give, a description of their background, especially if they have any particular skills, whether it be administrative, construction related. And as the contractors are seeking to hire employees, they will let us know that, hey, I need X amount of plumbers. I need office workers. I need these individuals to fill out my job force. And then the housing authority, we can screen those applications that we've received and try to match up the potential residents of housing authority or Clark County with those contracts to try to get them employed.
And so basically it's whenever we spend federal dollars, the folks who are in the community that are supposed to benefit from those federal dollars have to be engaged around all the jobs that get created. We have to offer folks the opportunity to come in and get those jobs because the dollars are being spent in ways that are supposed to benefit the community.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and I was at one of the subcontractors. I was surprised. Like the room was packed, and we were at a very large room at the community college, and it was a really, really good turnout. Like there were a lot of folks there. What kind of stuff are you hearing from the subcontractors? Because they'll be the ones hiring the folks for the most part. What are the kind of things that they say they need from a hiring perspective?
Well, one of the main things and what we've been focusing on is to make sure that their companies are qualified. You know, they have to be able to get bonded for these properties because you're dealing with a large sum of money. So fortunately, you know, we have partners that are working with us to help provide that type of information to make sure those subcontractors are job ready, because we can tell them that this work is available, this program is coming along, but if they are not ready, you know, on the financial side, the bonding side, then it's going to be a hindrance. But the good thing about this is that it's a long process, and we're starting early enough in meeting with them to make sure that, you know, they can qualify. Even if it's not for the first phase, we have the second phase, which is basically we're up and running, getting ready to start that one. And just providing all the information they need. As far as your business license, like I said, bonding is a big category, and the contractor's working with them on that.
And so you said this development will run through 2032. Did I hear that right?
That is correct. 2032.
So we have 7 more years. So I'm always encouraging folks, you know, to play the long game, right? Don't fuss right now. Get ready right now, because there'll be opportunities moving forward over the next 7 years to become involved at all kinds of levels. And a lot of folks, you know, may not be thinking about. So, for example, one of the designers that is helping us pick out countertops and walls and, you know, whatever kind of thing so that it's aesthetically pleasing, it is actually, it falls kind of under that criteria where we're looking for people from the community to provide that kind of work. Is that correct, Frank?
That is absolutely correct.
So I think folks see the construction part of it, but they don't see the design part or the architecture or the accounting or some of those other things that go into getting things built. Hey, you're on Living Room Sessions. We're about to hit a little station identification break. If you got some questions, call us 702-647-3688. That's 702-647-3688. You're listening to Living Room Sessions on KCEP, the People's Station.
So
we are 88.1 FM Las Vegas, owned and operated by the Economic Opportunity Board of Clark County, broadcasting in HD1.
We've been the People's Station for 50 years and counting.
Thank you, Las Vegas. We are Power 88, the People's Station.
yeah, Mike.
Hey, we are back. Thank you for being here today with us on Living Room Sessions. You know, it's really important. The big boss, Mr. Jordan, always says we move at the speed of trust. So one of our commitments, and Frank, you will co-sign on this, is to get better at tracking who's involved and how we share that information back to the community.
Absolutely.
About who gets a chance to take advantage of these opportunities.
And oftentimes, depending on where you lived, there's been promises made and promises broken.
Yeah.
There's been projects that have started and then they stop for good reasons. But a lack of communication will cause most people to default to this notion. If things aren't going the way I like for them to go, and I don't get a clear understanding of why, it's because I'm a woman,
right?
Because I'm black, because I'm a middle-aged white guy.
Yeah.
And the better job we do at communicating, the better we are.
Yeah, that's so important. The notion of communication. We're actually planning some more community meetings over at the AD Guy Center for the general public. But Johanna, one of your tasks for the current residents and the folks who have relocated off-site is communication. Talk to us some about how do you communicate what's going on and how do you stay in touch with the folks who've already moved off-site?
Yes. So, how we stay in touch with the residents is definitely giving them a call, doing the monthly check-ins with them, seeing how they're doing, right? That's one of them. Another one is also sending them mail. A lot of the times there are some things that we have that we, some information that we'd like to distribute to the residents, making sure that we send it via mail and also electronically through email. So, but majority of our communication with the residents that have been relocated is always via phone. We want to keep and stay in touch with the residents. We want them to know that, the people team is here for them. We want to let them know all the services that we have to offer, the services that there are out in the community.
So it's just real old school case workers, right? Yes. It's like people talking to people, asking questions about what's going on, what needs, what challenges, right? So it's old school, it's high touch, right? And that's the good thing about it. I think it gets missed because what you do, your team, Johanna, it is person to person, right?
Yes.
There aren't going to be big flyers and announcements, and because everybody's situation is unique, and your goal is that their families' needs get met, right? And so I don't know if the general community gets to hear a lot about that, like what it takes to really address the whole person, the whole family, and ultimately do it for more than 200 households. And it's just old-fashioned case management. It's knocking on doors, it's calling people, it's showing up for people when they need something.
And I like to give a shout out to Johanna and her team, because when we finally decided to put her in this position, it wasn't like, hey, this is Johanna, you've never seen her before. It was like, no, this is Johanna, we see her every day.
We already know her.
We already know who she is. And that's one of the things that we have to understand. When you're talking about, again, I want to be very clear when I say this, because all of it has not been intentional. But when you talk about years and years of just not quite getting it right, my grandma tells me stories and my mom tells me stories, and then here comes this guy on a horse saying, we're here to give you new housing. I had a young lady when I first, in fact, it was one of my defining moments in housing. We were, this is back in Illinois, we were doing a redevelopment project, and she looked me in the face and said, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And I said, it was over time. Well, do over time. She said, I'm 28 years old. I've lived here most of my life. I've had to complain most of my life. I've been told if I complain too loud, y'all gonna throw me out. But the whole notion of saying it's time for us to partner, it's time for us to collaborate, it's time to do what's right.
Yeah.
You got a role in this.
Yeah.
I love it when you talk about in good standing.
Yes.
Because folks will not be in good standing and say we did them bad.
Yeah.
Well, had we not raised one building and you not in good standing, you're going to leave anyway.
That's right.
But we have to build that trust, and thank you for you and your team.
Yeah, Johanna, you get big ups to Johanna and the team, because it first of all, because she cares, and I appreciate that you are a kind and caring person. You're not loud and rah-rah, like I'm kind of rah-rah-rah, like, but you are just quiet and effective, and the team you are building is really effective, and they really care about the residents at Marble Manor. So let's get into this good standing, because I think this is where folks, get mad. What on earth does that mean? Good standing.
So good standing, it just means that the resident is current.
Mm-hmm.
Current on their rent. That's basically what it means.
Yeah.
We want to make sure there's no lease violations that when they come back.
Right. And so there is sometimes this confusion that because there's a redevelopment process happening, I don't have to pay my rent. But you're still housed. It's decent housing. We're trying to give you better housing, higher quality housing.
Yes.
But it meets the basics. And so folks who don't pay their rent, whether there was a choice neighborhood program happening or not, there would be consequences for not paying rent, right?
Yes.
And so they're not excused from any of that because there's a redevelopment. We've also had a couple of cases where there were people who weren't reporting income, and they were like, okay, good, I'm getting a voucher now. I want to report this income because I want to qualify for the voucher program.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you've been living here a whole year working and not telling anybody. That's actually a program violation. It's fraud, actually.
Yes.
And you're no longer going to be in good standing. And occasionally we have folks who have unauthorized folks living in their house. Well, that's a lease violation, and you're not in good standing. So when you hear the team talking about, hey, everybody that's in good standing, you have access to all these resources. We'll help you relocate. We may even give you a voucher to relocate. You'll have Johanna's entire case management team supporting you and your whole family. We'll have Revival, who is the relocation specialist, folks working with you to smooth that process up and including identifying movers and paying for that move. Like, all those benefits are for people who are in good standing.
Yes.
And when you don't stay in good standing, you actually can't access those benefits. Now, we didn't make the rules. These are the federal rules, right?
Yes.
We didn't make them. We are accountable for them. So there will be some folks who are going to come back at us and say, Kathi, you evicted. Well, I didn't evict anybody. A judge evicted you because you didn't pay your rent or you violated your lease, right, which is essentially a contract. And so if you end up in court and a judge says, well, you did not pay your rent and you did not honor your contract, then you're not in good standing and all the benefits go away. You're not eligible for them. And that's not happening a lot, but we want to be honest with folks.
Right,
it may happen.
Be real. And the reality is that we have such a long runway. I sit in some of these meetings and I'm like, well, did you try this? Did you try this? Did you try that? I'm like, Lewis, yes, we tried.
Yeah.
You know, as my grandma would say, some folks don't think fat meat greasy.
Yeah.
And the reality, but we have to still work with folk. I'm of the mind now that, places like legal aid and to the extent that it's possible through our judicial system.
Yes.
That we sit down on the front end and say, look, for whatever reasons, and then here's the beauty of our program. You pay rent based on what you make.
Yes.
If you don't make anything, you don't pay anything.
That's
or
right.
Or at least a minimum. And I don't want us to focus on the negative because there's so many folks that are in good standing.
Yes.
But this whole notion of leaving anybody behind is something we do not want to do.
Yeah.
I want all my family to eat.
That's right.
And so we have to really work at, but because of issues of trust and because of issues of listening to someone who technically doesn't know what they're talking about, we have or something you read on the internet.
Yeah.
we have a piece or a group of misguided young people and older people.
Yes.
Who just they won't put me out.
Right.
Yeah, we don't want to, but we will.
Indeed. Someone sent me a meme that said, don't argue with people that Harriet Tubman would have left
That's
behind.
Right, exactly.
I was like, but we're not trying to leave nobody behind. But some folks will not listen to the opportunity for what it is. And so we don't argue, but you're right, Mr. Jordan. We have tried. I personally have sat down with folks and said, hey, this is like the Willy Wonka golden ticket that you're about to get. Don't lose it.
And I think we could all agree that the vast majority of things are going quite well.
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
And
we're working with the residents, and we want to make sure that there's phases of residents moving out, and we want to make sure that the residents that are in the later phase have more of that information as well. We want to be able to have them be prepared to move and what to expect.
Absolutely. So, Frank, you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
So, you said that some of the buildings that have come down included a child care center and some community space. What are we going to do about having community space? What's coming for the Marble Manor community?
Well, in addition to the units themselves, we will have we'll work with the Sunrise Foundation. They'll be building a new child care facility that will be on site. Much, greater and better than the one that we previously had there, even though it wasn't functioning at that time. But this will be a modern facility that will be on site. In addition to that, we are looking at having other spaces on site where we can maybe attract and bring other vendors in to provide services to the residents that are on the property as well. So it will not just be, the units themselves. There will be community space to provide, that full community effect and services that the residents will need.
Love it. So, Frank just mentioned the Sunrise Children's Foundation. Johanna, who are some of the other partners that we are prepared to work with throughout this process?
So we have a few. So we have Sunrise Children's Foundation. We currently work with the city of Las Vegas. They have a in-house pre-K program that we currently have. We have Roseman Genesis. That's another the health side that we're going to be working along with. Working alongside with CCSD, CSN. We have the Flex program. Also, the library is one of them as well, and also being able to collaborate with Doolittle Community Center, and the Doolittle Adult Center.
So all the sort of foundational community entities are also partners in this process. Like, we're all linking up arms together.
Yes.
So that this is a really stronger and honestly safer. Like, when all these come together to serve folks, it actually makes the community feel safe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I dare say, like us, they could not do it on their own, nor could we.
Yeah.
And when you look at, I like to play with the acronyms, Choice Neighborhood Initiative, Community, Choice Neighborhood, all those people you just mentioned, at some point in most of our lives, we had informal versions of them.
Yeah.
Be it the teacher who would, give you a little extra homework when they saw you were struggling, or the barber who would ask you how you doing in school, or, the hair salon place that would give you, a job to keep the floor swept.
Yeah.
We're bringing that back, and that's a wonderful thing.
It is so cool. We talk a lot about the neighborhood piece of this, that is being spearheaded by the city of Las Vegas.
Right.
And I don't know if everyone knows that the redevelopment of Marble Manor is literally written into the 100 Plan.
Interesting.
It is an aspect of the city's commitment to do right by the historic West Side. To your point, Mr. Jordan, promises made and promises not kept. And I am telling everybody now, we are the promise keepers.
That's right.
All the things that didn't get delivered, even if it was 75 years ago, did not get delivered to the community. We are striving to deliver those deliver on those promises in ways that are meaningful in a modern sense, right? Like, we're not trying to recreate the past, but we are respecting what was promised in the past. So better housing and better jobs and better services that really in any other strong community is there, but for any number of reasons didn't come to fruition on the historic West Side. And so this work is game-changing work for us, right? It not only changes where people live, but how people live in the community. And it's not excluding folks. You said earlier, Frank said earlier, there'll be some housing added for folks who might be a little higher income, but remember how wonderful it was to be on the West Side. Maybe they spent summers here with their families, or they grew up here and went away to college or started a business or whatever, and now they want to come back. And so there's an opportunity for them to come back. Johanna, you mentioned flex, because one of the things we've been really looking at is folks told us they wanted some jobs, right? If we're listening to the residents, we're going to look at that. How is CNI and the flex program working together?
Okay. So we Flex is on site as well as us, our team. So what we're doing is right now our residents have a great opportunity of being able to access that employment site on site with the Flex program. So what we do is we're meeting with our residents, making sure that we're being able to refer them to Flex. By referring means that we are, having the residents walking the residents to Flex, making sure that they're connected with the case manager to be able to access all those services that Flex has to offer with the employment side. They're assisting, they'll be able to assist with our residents with, resume building, looking for a job, any type of trainings. That's the unique thing that we have right now when it comes to the employment side for the Marble Manor residents.
And what I love about this Flex program is for the Marble Manor residents, and Sherman Garden and Jones Gardens too. Like it covers a few of our public housing sites. But for the residents who participate in Flex, if their income starts to go up, their rent won't start to go up.
Absolutely.
And so it's part of the incentive to say you can earn some additional funds and it's not going to immediately impact your rent, because sometimes it's a disincentive. Like my income only went up a couple bucks, but here you are come back talking about a interim rent calculate. Like, no, let me keep my couple of bucks. So that's the good thing about Flex, is that while you're participating in Flex, your income's going to go up, but it doesn't immediately impact your rent.
And what's nice about, or I should say exciting about Flex is a $3 million grant that the Housing Authority received around the same time, a $3 million grant from the federal government. And around the same time, we got the $50 million grant. So the federal government is saying, Southern Nevada, we see the need. You guys do an awesome job in working together. So we're going to give you some seed money.
Yes.
We'll give you $50 million to go out and impact neighborhood, people, and housing. And then we're going to give you, through a competitive grant, another $3 million to help folks to help folks develop the necessary skills they need to not only get those jobs, but keep those jobs.
Right.
And when you talk about, and I don't want to misquote the number, but there's hundreds of millions of dollars of activity going on the West Side right now.
Oh, yeah.
And to be a part of this, to be a part of a process where we may have had adults who were unemployable, and now their kids are coming up, that can jump into this process, having support from our federal government like the Flex program, in addition to things that the state and state, county, and local. It's a win-win situation for everyone.
It will be. When the Marble Manor development is complete at $400 million, it will bring the total investment under the 100 Plan umbrella to nearly $1 billion with the B dollars, right? So we don't see it all yet, but what's coming between the library and the West Side Education and Training Center and the new housing at the share development and the infrastructure and trees, the sidewalks, everything the city's putting in, and the $400 million from the Marble Manor redevelopment, it will be $900 million, almost $1 billion of investment that's been long overdue for the historic West Side. Yeah.
No place like home.
And it's no place like home, right? And so we want folks to get ready, right? That's part of what we're talking about, Johanna, with the people team, is to talk to people and figure out what they need, what they want. What have you guys been hearing so far? What's been like a common theme with the families?
With the families, with the needs, it is having access, health. Is one of the big needs.
Yeah.
Being able to access medical services near around 89106. Another one is employment. That's the biggest thing as well. But the main one, of course, is health side, and also food security. That's the big That's the big one.
Right. We just, a couple of radio shows ago, we had our friends from the Obodo Collective here, and they are part of the Choice neighborhood. Actually, they were one of our early action grant recipients, so that we could invest in the garden there at Obodo to increase access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And then we just had that scare, back in November, when we didn't know if folks were going to get their SNAP benefits or not. What were you guys doing in November, Johanna?
So we were able to host pop-ups through 3 Square. So 3 Square would come on site and provide, I think it was over we were able to provide over 4,000 pounds of food to all of our sites. So Marble Manor being one of them, and then there. So we were able to do that. We were able to also have. We partnered with Flex when they were able to contact just one project and have residents come on site and pick up food boxes. We were also given bus passes by RTC to have the residents being able to, if they have transportation issues, for us to provide that bus pass for them to be able to go around within the city to pick up those food boxes. And then we also were able to provide so there's some agencies outside in the community that were able to provide food boxes to the residents, during Christmas, during Thanksgiving, just to make sure that they have something to eat during those times as well.
Yeah, shout out to RTC and Just One and 3 Square, 100 Black Men, some folks like that, who were partners in, helping us respond in a meaningful way when, crisis hit. Like, we don't create the crisis.
Right.
We can't even fix the crisis. But what we try to do is respond in a way that makes sense for the residents who are going to be disproportionately impacted when any of those kind of, livelihood supports are cut back or undermine or whatever, right? And so that was a lot of work. And I remember at Marble and Sherman Gardens too, literally going door to door because folks didn't believe that y'all would be out there giving out that much good stuff. It was like, no, literally knocking on doors. Right. Here's your box. It's free or no cost to you. We just want to tide people over. Sometimes that's all we can do is step in the gap. And that's really what was happening this past November while we were trying to wait for the feds and the state and everybody to figure out what they were going to do about people's SNAP benefits. And it's like, we can't let folks starve that's while y'all having, political battles. This is this is real life. This is on the streets. And so that was a lot of work, but I appreciate how quickly Johanna and you all were able to mobilize community partners to come through and really help out with what could have been a mess, right? Especially for our seniors, especially for our families with young children. That could have been really devastating.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt. So look, one more time, I'm going to give this call line 702-647-3688. We're coming up on, this hour went really fast. It goes so fast. Hey, Frank, any last words before we get out of here about what do you want people to know about what's happening with redevelopment at Marble Manor?
Well, yes, I definitely do. As I mentioned, we're getting ready to start the new development of what we're referring to as phase one here very soon. Just trying to work out a few issues with the local utilities so we can get that green light to get started. But as we're preparing for that, we are also in the demolition process for phase 2A, 2B, and 3. So those are the buildings that go all the way back to J Street. The Housing Authority has an active invitation for bid on the streets as we speak. January 22nd, we will be doing a pre-bid for selective contractors as well as subs that want to participate in that process. And we're going to close that process in February. So we'll have a contractor ready to do the demo. And on the development side for phase 2 and 3, we are also in the process of looking at doing a solicitation for general contractors. So there's a lot coming. I mean, the train is on the track and it's moving fast.
Wait, give us that date again. You're doing, when's the bid for contractors and subs? The bid meeting?
The pre-bid meeting is January 22nd. We will be doing that on the property over on J Street at the current operations manager's office. I forget that exact address, but it's on J Street. And that'll be January 22nd. All that information they can pull up on NGEM, which is Nevada General Marketplace, as well as the Housing Authority's website. We'll have the ID package with all the critical dates for it.
Excellent, excellent. Johanna, last words. What is it that you want people to know that they may not know about how we're working with the families at Marble Manor?
Okay. Things that they may not know.
Yeah.
That we are actively working to bring more services, more resources on site for the families. We're continuing to have new partners here at Marble Manor, just to be able to address those barriers and making sure that making sure that our residents, when they're ready to move, that they receive all the services that they need.
Excellent. Mr. Jordan, as always, you get the last word. You got about 90 seconds,
and
though,
in
sir.
90 seconds, I want to say that, time and time again, we come in, we sit, and although I've been a part of the overall master process and the plan, I want our community to know that we have one heck of a team.
Yeah.
When I say team, I'm talking about the Housing Authority, the city, the partners that Johanna mentioned, the residents that we're serving. And when we continue to oil and push this team forward, there's nothing we can't do. So, once again, I walk out with this look on my face like, yeah, we got this.
Excellent.
And it's a good thing to be. So thank you all so much.
All right. This has been fun. It went so fast. Look, we're here the second Monday of every month on Living Room Sessions, 10:30 a.m. on KCEP. Y'all come back and sit down on the sofa and talk with us a while. You hear? Thank y'all. We're out.